Greetings and welcome back to yet another episode of the Daily Run, and today we're playing as The Lost. This was quite a dark daily in the sense that there were a lot of Curse of Darknesses, so most of this footage is sped up except for the last fight, just to show you just how weak or strong we are. You'll see when we get there. But we have a few peculiar decisions to be made, at least on the start of the run. So the first item we get in our treasure room was the Ankh, which means that now as the Lost we can actually die and come back as Blue Baby, so a character that actually has health. And of course that brings benefits with it, like we can actually get hit more than 2 times per room and not be afraid of death when we die, because we're just gonna come back as Blue Baby. But the question is, so do we just maybe wait and just use it naturally, so that means just when we die we come back as Blue Baby and go from there, so maybe like as a second chance resort? Or do we commit to it and just transform into Blue Baby right away and maybe start doing things from there? We lose a few of the benefits if it just transformed to Blue Baby immediately, and I don't think it was the right decision to be made here. But what happens is you lose the ability to get free devil deals and you lose flight. So for that reason, it's maybe better to stay as the Lost until the second floor, because at that point, of course, you can go to the Devil Deal, pick up all the Devil items, and then get out and maybe still come back as Blue Baby and still have 3 Spirit Hearts remaining. What I did was, because Fate dropped, which is an item that gives you flight, I thought that was gonna be my best opportunity to actually transform into Blue Baby, just because having flight is a very important thing indeed, especially in a run that only goes to Mom. Getting all those points, Shrek points, Spirit Hearts that are hidden behind the rocks is very important in like just your overall success. So for that reason, I felt like there's really a decision to be made there. So either you play as the Lost for the most of the run, or what happens is you play as Blue Baby and get flight early on, and then of course go from there. There are, like I said, some benefits and positives, I think, to both of those play styles, and I think most of it just comes down to how comfortable you are as playing as the Lost. So if you're sure that you're not gonna die, then that's great. But also a benefit of playing as Blue Baby means that you can use the D4 immediately, which is something that I was going for. I was actually going for that. I was gonna transform into Blue Baby and then start re-rolling. So I can't do that with the Lost, because I have the Ankh, which is obviously an item that spawns your Blue Baby if you die, and if you re-roll that, then there's your chances gone. You also use your Holy Mantle, and you're just left with the Lost, which can only take 1 hit, so that's not good. So you definitely want to die first, so you become the Blue Baby and you have the Spirit Hearts before you actually start using your re-roll, and that was I was going for. But what happened is our first Devil Deal was actually contained the shovel, and I could not go back and in without re-rolling. So what I should have done is re-rolled before, or maybe on the last floor, and maybe picked up Fate after that. But the way I did it here was just turned out very awkward, I think, in the end. I just felt like there was something more to be done there, and how I did it was not the optimal way. But just because I was forced to take the shovel in Devil Deal and leave my D4 behind in the hopes of getting to getting as deep as possible to get the maximum amount of points, this is how the run went. So for now we actually just have a few very weird runs, and you saw me on the previous floor. I just went in the mob trap room, and because we were actually quite low on time, or in other words, the run wasn't strong enough, so I was not able to deal with things very fast. And you know me, I just overall play a pretty slow gameplay, so I do end up running out of time a lot. And we only had the Fire Mind as our damage item, and the Death Shot, which increases your damage the more you hit the enemies, and that didn't turn out too well for us. It just felt like I was struggling a lot. I actually felt pretty good fighting against normal monsters, but as soon as I got into this boss trap room, I saw just how long it took me to actually kill the monstro. He does have a lot of HP, of course, he's a tanky character, but I really thought I was gonna have enough time. So what happens is, at 19 minutes remaining, or 19:10, I guess, 19:15, I get into the boss fight, and you can just see just how annoying fighting against Mom is. I should have used my flames more that were on the floor to bait the lag, and the lag would actually then land in the flames, and that would, I think, work much better for us. But just with the way how it turned out here was, I just barely missed boss rush, which of course is a great deficit to points, and I could have made it definitely, just because having the shovel means you can essentially even skip floors just to get the boss rush. The question is it worth it? And I think in most cases it is worth it, if you have a weak run, so that means that you won't be able to get to it otherwise, because I think just skipping a few rooms is better than actually visiting boss rush. You know, we did miss the item room and the boss room, so that means we missed at least 2 items on the previous floor, and those items might have been great and actually allowed us to do much better, but I just decided to make this play because I felt they were our best odds to actually get to boss rush in time. But sadly, because Monster 2 has a lot of HP and because I didn't use my fire as well on the mom fight, we are in this situation. And remember, because we're using the shovel, there's no hush fight, because this run was only originally meant to go to mom or to mom's foot, and so yeah, there's no hush, so we don't really have to rush for that, so we can take our time and explore the rest of the floors. Sadly, you know, we aren't just very strong enough, and our flames are kind of iffy, and whenever you use Fire Mind, it's usually that you'll hit yourself more often than not. What was very surprising to me again, and it surprises me every time I use the Fire Mind item, it has a larger range than it actually looks like, so that means that the explosions that happen will hit you. I think, like, if the enemy is in the middle of the room and you're on the top of the room, I think the explosion can still just barely reach you, even if you just move it like 2 pixels below. And I feel like that's a lot, but then again, you know, it is an explosion, so you can have wimpy explosions in this game. One thing that really bothers me just in general with Isaac, not bothers me, but I guess kind of makes it a bit more difficult, is just how perspective works on if you're below an enemy or maybe if you're above an enemy. It really changes, or it messes with how you have to dodge, at least in my opinion. And it's so much easier to actually dodge on the left or the right side, where things feel a bit more two-dimensional than they actually feel on the bottom or the top of the screen. This is especially apparent, I think, when a mom or like a foot comes down from mom or maybe Satan, and you get hit if you're above it or below it, and you're not really, it doesn't really seem like it should hit you, but somehow it does. It seems to have a bigger hitbox than it does. For that reason, I think that those things should be amended a bit, but I'm not really sure why that happens. I think it's just a perspective play, like the eyes play tricks on us, and maybe it seems like it's bigger or smaller than it actually is, and that's the risk there. So we used the shovel a few times, and this is the last floor we can use the shovel on, and I did manage to find a crawl space, and the crawl space contained a blank card, and obviously that's the best card we can hope for here. And we actually have a few decisions, I mean another kind of big decision to be made here. So what we can do is go to our curse room or our sacrifice room and use the perk spill, and with the perk spill then we get reduced damage taken, so that means that we only take half of hearts of damage, which is obviously very good on the sacrifice room, because that means that we can play it a lot of times and actually be almost guaranteed to be teleported to the dark room. But my problem was I only had 5.5 spirit hearts remaining, which means that I can effectively only take 10 hits before dying, which means that, and you need at least 12 to actually get to the dark room. So I felt like I didn't have enough spirit hearts to actually pull that off, so that's why I decided to go on the next floor. I should have taken the perk spill with me, just in the off chance that this floor also contains sacrifice room, and if I didn't manage to find a spirit heart like I did, it means that I can actually sacrifice myself 12 times, and there's still a chance to get more spirit hearts from actually just playing the sacrifice room. So I think I should have kept the perk spill. Thankfully, or maybe not thankfully, this floor did not contain a sacrifice room, so my mistake of not taking the pill was not that huge. And I think, like I said, if it did have it, having the perk spill would be very useful, because we would even be able to get just a bunch more points. But even so, even though we had the soul item, which deflects bullets, and we had the holy mantle item, and we had some nice defensive items like flight as well, I still managed to get hit a few too many times in my opinion, and some of that was definitely from the fire mind, and that is just inevitable. But I feel like on a run that has so many defensive items, you should just never get hit, like in this situation. But you know, that's how things work out. So the Vega Satan fight you see here, the only DPS items we have are the Torn Photo, which increases our tear speed, and the Deadshot, which increases our damage the more accurate we are, and the Fire Mind, of course. That is just, you can see just how ineffective it is, and it's very annoying to fight against the foot and the little worms that are kind of charging around, because there's no solid target to hit, and because you kind of have to keep the damage up with the Deadshot, and because the legs keep moving and spawning and the flies flying around, things can get kind of tricky and start hitting hard. So our best deal is to kind of bait the foot on actually landing on the flames, because that will deal the most damage to it. Another annoying part of this fight is when we set fire to the bomb flights, they can just they can set off at a random, not a random, but you know, like at a set interval, and that can turn out kind of bad. I just decided to end the run there because I did not feel very happy about it, I guess. It just wasn't very good. And we did manage to come in 206th, which is to be expected because we did miss boss rush and we did miss, I think, some opportunities to get more points. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you next time.